Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going on a little trip. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a massive, thrilling descent straight down into the unseen layers of our planet. You know, we spend our entire lives walking around on the surface, just looking up at the sky, right? But today, we are doing the exact opposite. We're going to dig straight down and peel back the layers of the Earth to uncover the incredible structure hiding, literally, right beneath our feet.
So what actually lies beneath our feet? It's so easy to just assume the Earth is basically a giant ball of solid rock all the way through. But the reality is way more dynamic, layered, and honestly, incredibly complex. It's like a giant fiery puzzle operating silently right underneath us every single day.
Section 1. The ground beneath us, the crust. We've got to start our journey at the familiar surface, focusing on the outermost solid part of the Earth. This is home, folks. It's the literal foundation of every mountain you've ever seen, every valley, and every ocean floor. Now, what's really fascinating here is how drastically the thickness of this crust changes depending on where you are. I mean, whether you're floating under the ocean or standing right on a continent, it makes a huge difference. The crust definitely isn't just some uniform shell wrapping around the planet like an eggshell. It's fundamentally split into two distinct types, oceanic and continental. To really put that into perspective, the oceanic crust is an astonishingly thin 5 kilometers. Just 5. Compare that to the continental crust, which averages around 30 kilometers thick. So think about it. When you're sailing out over the deep ocean, the solid barrier separating all that water from the deep Earth is incredibly, almost surprisingly thin compared to the vast land masses we live on.
Moving down a bit, bridging the crust and the deeper Earth is something called the lithosphere. This layer spans anywhere from 10 to 200 kilometers thick, and what's kind of cool about it is that it borrows from two completely different zones. It essentially fuses the entire crust we just talked about with the very uppermost, rigid part of the mantle lying right beneath it. The whole shebang together makes up the lithosphere. Which brings us to Section 2, the massive mantle, below the crust. We begin this deeper descent by crossing a super interesting boundary known as Moho's discontinuity. And right beyond that boundary, we enter the vast portion of the interior called the mantle.
And guys, this layer is absolutely colossal. It is an incredibly deep, massive chunk of the Earth's interior, extending from the Moho all the way down to a staggering depth of 2,900 kilometers. I mean, we are talking about a truly tremendous volume of the Earth right here. But the mantle isn't just one giant uniform block. Within its upper reaches, there's a yielding zone extending up to 400 kilometers deep called the asthenosphere. Now, the prefix astheno literally translates to weak. So, this upper layer is a weaker zone. It's not fully solid in the way we typically think of hard, rigid rock. It's got some give to it.
The crucial thing to understand here is that while the asthenosphere is weak and flowing, the lower mantle right beneath it surprisingly returns to a completely solid state. It's wild. Once you push past that 400-kilometer mark, the deep lower mantle goes back to being entirely solid rock. It's just a fantastic structural shift right in the middle of the mantle.
Section 3, the volcanic engine, the source of magma. So, that weak asthenosphere we just discussed, it's incredibly active. In fact, it serves as the main engine for volcanic eruptions, connecting the deep Earth directly to the surface we live on. This specific, weak, flowing zone is exactly where molten rock finds its way up.
It's really the fiery journey of molten rock. Deep down in the asthenosphere, it starts its life as magma. Then, driven by just intense, unimaginable pressure, it forces its way upward toward the crust. And finally, step 3, once it breaches the surface during a volcanic eruption, it gets a name change. It becomes the lava that literally shapes the face of our world.
Moving on to Section 4, the heavy metal core, the deepest Earth. Drilling way past that 2,900-kilometer boundary that marks the end of the mantle, we finally hit the heaviest engine of our planet. Crossing this core mantle boundary marks an absolutely massive transition in our descent. Right here at that 2,900-kilometer mark, we run into the core's really fascinating dual nature. First, we enter the outer core, and guess what? It is completely liquid. But as the immense pressure just keeps building and building toward the absolute center, the inner core actually shifts back into a fully solid state. So picture this. It's a vast liquid sphere completely surrounding an incredibly dense solid sphere right dead center in the Earth.
And what exactly is down there in that core? Well, it's predominantly heavy metals. We are talking specifically about nickel, which has the chemical symbol Ni, and iron, symbolized as Fe. Because of the super dense metallic makeup, scientists actually have a nickname for it. They often refer to this deepest realm as the Nif layer, literally just combining those two elemental abbreviations. Pretty clever, right?
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a quick thought to ponder. The next time you walk outside and look down at the solid ground you're standing on, try to really feel it. Think about that unbelievably thin crust, the deep flowing mantle, and that incredibly heavy metallic core humming away at the center of it all. Can you feel that immense, heavy, fiery engine operating silently right beneath your feet? Thanks for joining me on this descent today, and hey, never stop questioning what lies beneath.